how does one get to the point of displaying the necessary level of empathy to their subordinates or to their teammates or members of the team or whatever? How do we display empathy?
Well, I'll tell you, and I'm gonna relate a lot of things back to the military. That was the last job that I had. Other than this current job as the president of the Guardians, 22nd, as a first sergeant. Uh, as a platoon sergeant would come to me and they would be like, "Hey, first sergeant, uh, I would like to give so and so an order 15,"
Mm.
and I'm like, "Okay, why do you want to give him Mark 15? Because he's late all the time. And this, that, and the other." And I'd be like, "Okay, so why is he late?"
Mm.
And they'd be like, "I don't know why he's late." I said, "Okay, well, bring so-and-so into my office and we'll talk about it." So I would bring so-and-so into my office with his platoon sergeant. And I'd be like, "Okay, what a lot of soldiers think is whenever they go to the first sergeant's office, they're in trouble."
Hmm.
Okay. And that's how I was brought up. But I've since going the other way on it, being a first sergeant. So I'd bring him in and I'd say, "Okay, so why are you late?" And they'd be like, "Well, first sergeant, me and my wife, we share a car. Okay, we share a car, and during the time I'm supposed to be at PT, my wife has to take my daughter to daycare. Okay, so that she can go about her day
Yeah.
and go to her job. So in order to get my daughter to daycare, I have to let my wife use the car. And whenever she uses the car, I have to wait until she gets home so that I can take her to work and then I can come to work."
Mm.
And I said, "Okay, you can step out for a moment." So I'd have a conversation with the platoon sergeant. I said, "So what's so hard about understanding what the situation is?"
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Well, I didn't know that." It's because you didn't ask.
Yeah.
You just automatically flew off the handle, and you're giving so and so all this grief, and you're not understanding the situation. You got to understand the situation. I
Yeah.
said, "So I'm gonna push this back in your court. If you need me to fix it, then I'll fix it. But I'm gonna give you the opportunity to go ahead and fix it.
Right.
You can have one of his battle buddies pick him up, bring him to work. I'm not apt to go ahead and just automatically, recommend this soldier for an Article 15,
Absolutely.
especially knowing the circumstances of why this individual's late." So
Yeah.
I think that displaying empathy in that aspect, it will also teach the platoon sergeant or that leader that there's more to a situation, because no one comes in to a situation to fail.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the stressor, the soldier who has to let his wife take his child to daycare and then come home and you take her to work,
Right.
him or her to work, and then having to come in.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to be late.
Yeah.
And a lot of leaders don't understand that. Once we look at that situation, we can also look at it to the point where, when we were late, when we were private.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
can relate to that. I know many a time that I was late,
Yeah.
coming to work, and you just have to put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that because when you was talking about going to the first sergeant, it's always bad news.
Yeah.
So it was bad news for me, right? But it was probably a reason that I induced it. So
Yes, that's good.
No, but you're absolutely right, man. And I think that's a perfect example. If we listen, if I think a lot of times we become linear thinkers, right? And we get that from education for the most part. So our regular standardized education system per se, and I'm not saying anything negative against it, right? You have to have a baseline, but it teaches us more so to be linear thinkers. And in essence, what ends up happening is that, we look for the condition to be this, and then I can decide this. And if this condition says this and this, then I can decide this. Very simple. Doesn't require me to do a whole lot of thinking. However, once we get to the point that we can actually think, and we don't necessarily have to display on the habit of thinking, right?
Yes.
Then what we do is we look at the situation that says this, and then I can apply some thought into it, consider other perspectives, other alternative routes. What else can we do? Ask the necessary level of questions. And then we can get to the point of understanding ways to mitigate the problem. And I hope that Platoon Sergeant kind of figured out what you were saying and kind of learned from that example that you gave, because I think that's a perfect example. I kind of went through a lot of that, given, soldiers, platoon sergeant, whatever the case may be. And when we was in Korea, which was very interesting, I had one NCO, and we're in Korea, right? I had one NCO. He was with us, but his spouse was in the States,
Yes.
and she didn't drive, didn't have access to the bank cards, couldn't do anything. And oh yeah, by the way, she was 6 months pregnant. And so when I'm getting phone calls in my office saying that, she called, I think it was AER, something of that nature. And so they were calling me and trying to figure out, like, so, what do we need to do? I said, well, hold on, let me figure something out, because this is news to me. So of course I had to sit down and talk to the NCO and, ask certain questions. And I had the platoon sergeant to develop the situation, right? Because I'm like, I need to, we need to talk about this afternoon. Right? I don't want to bring him in just yet. I want you to develop the situation, then come and we sit down and talk about it, and then we can bring him in.
Yes.
And then eventually we got to the point to where we kind of had a better understanding. She was she didn't speak English. That was number one. And then number two, she had a family support plan, but something happened within that family support plan that it wasn't supporting. So yeah, so
It happens,
it happens. It happens.
Yep.
So we had to figure that part out. But again, on the other hand, if I was just the one that looked for the linear process, so this is the issue, that's the answer. And every answer isn't, cut and dry. It's not always black and white. We have to understand, and part of understanding is asking the necessary questions, and then considering, if that was me, how would I be? How would that make me feel if somebody's trying to tell me I'm less than a husband, or I'm less than a father, or whatever the case may be. And that doesn't make anybody feel good. It doesn't empower anybody. But then on the other hand, the other side of it, just like you did with the soldier, if I put the necessary level of thought into it, then what the soldier does at that point is the soldier has a strong connection with their chain of command.
Absolutely.
Because the chain of command, now I can trust them.
Absolutely.
They have my best interest in heart.
Yes.
So man, that was the perfect example. You mentioned the nonprofit, right? So let's kind of talk about that. What is it all about? I know I'm kind of changing things up a little bit, but I'm curious.
Well, right now, I'll tell you, Guardians of the 22nd, we're still a bit in infancy. We started out at Fort Bliss with the 22nd Chemical Battalion. That's hence the name Guardians of the 22nd. And basically, we decided to form this nonprofit in support of the unit, the 22nd Chemical Battalion. And what we do is we try to aid them in certain aspects of morale, welfare, and recreation and stuff. We go out and we fundraise in order to cook breakfast for them, sponsor balls that they want to put on, as well as engage with the local community there at Fort Bliss. We're in infancy, and we started the program. We're still trying to keep it going. I think we're doing well. However, the founders of the Guardians of the 22nd has since moved on. We got some guys over in Korea, some of them in Missouri, and myself here in San Antonio. So what we do is we fundraise and we bring attention and try to close the gap between active duty and veterans. To let the veterans know that, hey, we're still here and we still remember you guys. Try to invite them out to these events that we host, such as PT. We can do that. The barbecues and balls and whatnot. And right now we're working on a ball that was supposed to actually have taken place back in 2019. However, with COVID and everything, we had to get the can down the road. Yeah. So hopefully next month, March, we'll be able to get back out to Fort Bliss in order to put on this ball. But it's a great organization. We have some great partners in Walmart, and still trying to grow our brand, just to get some awareness out there. And it's like I said, it's a non-for-profit. None of the board members, including myself, take a dime from the organization. Everything goes directly back to the soldiers and their families and these
That's
veterans.
good. That's good. That's real good. So the members of this nonprofit, are they all retirees or mixed retirees, soldiers? What does that look like?
Well, we're all retirees, but however, we do have some spouses of active duty
Okay.
members that help to get the word out about the organization.
Okay.
We do a lot of work with the FRG, family readiness groups, and those guys, in order to help facilitate things like most recently the battalion. They went to in support of the Afghan refugees.
Okay.
So basically, we whatever they needed, whatever they want, all they had to do was get in touch with us, and we do what we can to ship out some care packages and whatnot. But however, they didn't need anything from us, so we're still here letting them know that we are in support.
Yeah. And I really like that, and thank you for sharing that. And I know it was kind of, a real quick change there, but the more I was thinking about it, that's really good. You have to consider it. Whoever came up with the vision for this nonprofit, they were thinking empathetically.
Yes.
Like they were thinking about the veterans, like what can we do for them? How can we help them feel connected to an organization that they belong to for probably half their life?
Absolutely.
And so just thinking about that just now, I was like, wait, hold on. That's the perfect display of empathetic leadership. So yeah, that's why I wanted to bring that up just now, because I didn't want to forget to ask you, but then I just kept thinking about it.